My name is Eleanor Hayes, and I am 78 years old. For 35 years, I lived in this quiet little house at the edge of Willow Creek alone. My husband, Robert, walked out when I was 43. He didn't leave a note, didn't say goodbye. He just vanished. People told me to move on. Some whispered he had died. Others said he'd run away with another woman. But deep down, I always felt there was more to the story. I just never expected to find out. It was a rainy Thursday when it happened. I was making tea, humming to myself, when I heard a knock at the door. It wasn't gentle or hurried. It was slow, heavy, familiar. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Something inside me knew before I even opened it. When I did, there he stood. Robert. His hair gray, his face lined with time, but those eyes, those were the same. The same eyes that had left me all those years ago. "Ellie," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I'm home." For a moment I couldn't breathe. The man I had dreamed of, cursed and mourned for 3 decades, was standing on my porch, trembling in the rain. Before I could speak, he stepped aside. And then I saw her. A young woman, no older than 30, stood behind him. She looked scared, clutching a small leather bag to her chest. "Eleanor," Robert said softly. "This is my daughter, our daughter." The words slammed into me like a storm. My daughter. Our daughter. My knees went weak, and the teacup slipped from my hand, shattering on the porch. "Robert," I whispered, my voice shaking. "What did you do?" His eyes filled with tears. "I had to protect her. I had to protect all of you. But the truth is going to hurt." I stared at the young woman's face, searching for answers, for some piece of the puzzle. And then I saw it, the shape of her eyes. My eyes. My world tilted, my breath shallow. "Robert, what secret are you bringing into my home?" The rain poured harder, but inside me, the storm had only just begun. I couldn't move. My legs felt like stone as Robert stepped into the living room, dripping water on the old rug. The young woman followed slowly, her eyes darting around as if she were stepping into forbidden ground. Robert's hands trembled as he shut the door. "Ellie, please sit. I need to explain everything." I didn't sit. My voice came out sharper than I intended. "Explain. Robert, you vanished for 35 years. You left me to raise our son alone. You left me to bury my hope. And now you walk in with her." I turned to the girl, my heart twisting. "Who are you?" Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. "My name is Clara." "Clara." My chest tightened. The name we had once picked for a baby girl that never came. Robert's voice broke through my thoughts. "Ellie, she's ours. She's your daughter." The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. No, that's impossible. I never." My words caught. "Robert, what are you saying?" He moved closer, his eyes glistening. "I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because I had to. You were in danger, Ellie. Baby. Clara, she was in danger. I thought I could keep you both safe if I disappeared. I thought I could come back when it was over." His voice cracked. "But it never ended. And I lost 35 years of you." Clara's lips trembled as she stepped forward. "I grew up hearing about you." He told me stories about the woman who sang to the stars, the woman with hands that made everything feel safe. I thought you were dead." Something in her voice pierced my heart. A lifetime stolen. Memories we should have shared. And a secret that clearly went deeper than either of them had said. I finally sat, my hands shaking. "Robert, what danger? What did you run from?" He looked at me with hollow eyes. "Ellie, they're still looking for us. And they've found us." A loud thud echoed from outside, making all 3 of us jump. Clara's face went pale. "They're here," she whispered. Robert rushed to the window, peeking through the curtains. His shoulders tensed. "We don't have much time." I grabbed his arm. "Robert, stop speaking in riddles and tell me what's going on. Who's out there?" Clara clutched her bag tighter, tears brimming in her eyes. "Dad, we can't keep running forever. She deserves to know. Robert turned to me, his face carved by years of fear. Ellie, after our son was born, I got involved with people I shouldn't have. I was desperate. Money was tight. They promised quick cash. But it wasn't just money. It was power, secrets, things that could ruin lives. And when I tried to walk away, they threatened you. They threatened the baby we didn't even know you were carrying yet. My breath hitched. You left to protect us. His voice cracked. I left to keep you alive. Outside, another knock sounded. This one wasn't gentle. It was hard, demanding. Clara stepped closer to me, her small hand sliding into mine like it had been waiting 35 years to find it. Mom, she whispered, and the word shattered me. Robert moved toward the back door. We need to leave. There's a safe house about 10 miles from here. I stood rooted to the floor, torn between rage and heartbreak. Robert, you broke me. You broke our family. And now you're telling me the nightmare isn't over. The knocking turned into pounding. A voice outside shouted, Robert Hayes, we know you're in there. Clara's grip tightened on my hand. Mom, please. In that moment, every part of me wanted to scream. But instead I grabbed my coat and nodded. Fine. But you tell me everything. No more secrets. Robert opened the back door to the pouring rain. Ellie, when you hear the truth, you might never forgive me. I looked at Clara, at the daughter I never knew, and whispered, We'll see about that. As we stepped into the storm, I realized the past hadn't just come back to haunt me. It had come to claim us all. The rain drenched us as we sprinted through the backwoods behind the house. Robert held Clara's hand while I struggled to keep up, my old legs fighting every step. My mind spun with questions, anger, and the surreal weight of holding the hand of a grown daughter I had never raised. When we finally reached an old shed tucked deep in the trees, Robert shoved the door open and ushered us inside. The smell of damp wood and dust filled my nose. Clara sat on a crate, shivering while I leaned against the wall, my chest heaving. Robert, I said between breaths, start talking. No more running. No more secrets. He crouched in front of me, his eyes dark with regret. Ellie, 35 years ago, I crossed a line. I thought it was for us. I thought it would save our family. But I became a witness to something I shouldn't have seen. A murder. A powerful man tied to the organization I worked for. When I tried to go to the police, they came after me. I ran because I knew if I stayed, they'd kill you and the kids. I stared at him, my heart pounding. So you let me believe you abandoned us. You let me bury you in my heart just to keep me safe. His voice cracked. It was the only way. Clara's voice trembled. Dad raised me off the grid my whole life. No schools. No friends. Just running. He always told me someday we'd come home. Someday we'd see you. Tears burned my eyes. 35 years of birthdays. 35 Christmas mornings without her. My own daughter. Before I could respond, headlights cut through the cracks of the shed. Car had stopped outside. Robert's face went pale. They found us. He turned to me, his voice urgent. Ellie, listen to me. If they get to us, they won't stop. But there's a file in my bag. Evidence. It's the only thing that can end this. The shed door rattled violently. A man's voice boomed through the storm. You can't run forever, Robert. Bring her out. Both of them. I stepped in front of Clara instinctively. My voice came out steady despite the fear. Robert, what do we do? He looked at me with eyes full of guilt and love. We fight. The pounding on the shed door grew louder. I grabbed Clara's hand, feeling her tremble. Robert yanked open his old duffel bag and pulled out a thick envelope, sealed with tape. Ellie, he said, shoving it into my hands. If anything happens to me, you take this to the police. You don't stop until this ends. I stared at the bag, my fingers shaking. Robert, what's inside? His voice dropped to a whisper. Everything. Proof of what they've done. And proof of what I did to protect you. The door burst open with a crash. Two men stepped inside, their faces shadowed under dripping hoods. One of them pointed straight at Clara. "Bring the girl. We warned you what would happen if you came back." Clara whimpered, clutching my arm. My heart roared in my ears. "You're not touching her." Robert stepped forward, his hands raised. "You want me, not them. Let them go." The taller man sneered. "Too late for deals, Robert. 35 years and you still don't get it. Loose ends don't get to walk away." Without thinking, I grabbed an old rusted shovel leaning against the wall and swung with everything I had. It cracked against the man's arm, making him drop his weapon. "Run!" Robert screamed. Clara and I bolted into the storm, the mud sucking at our feet. My chest burned, my legs screamed, but adrenaline carried me. Behind us, I heard Robert shouting, a scuffle, then a gunshot that split the night. Clara screamed, stumbling to a stop. "Dad!" I grabbed her face, forcing her to look at me. "Clara, listen. He wanted us to live. We have to keep running." Tears streamed down her cheeks as we plunged into the woods. The rain washed the blood from my trembling hands. For 35 years, I had been living in the shadow of loss. Tonight, I realized the loss wasn't over. And somewhere behind us in the dark, my husband, the man who broke my heart to save me, might have just paid the final price. We didn't stop running until our lungs burned and the rain turned to mist. Clara collapsed against a fallen log, her sobs muffled by the storm. I crouched beside her, pulling her into my arms. My chest heaved, but my mind was sharper than ever. Envelope. My fingers dug into my coat pocket to make sure it was still there. It was damp but intact. Robert's last hope. Maybe his last breath. "Mom!" Clara's voice cracked. It hit me like a knife every time she called me that. Do you think he's gone?" I swallowed hard, refusing to let my voice shake. "We don't know. And until we do, we keep moving. That's what your father wanted." We trudged through the woods until we found an abandoned hunting cabin. It smelled of mold and old pine, but it had a lock on the door. I pushed Clara inside and latched it. By the dim light of a lantern, I tore open the envelope. Inside were photos, documents, and a small, worn notebook. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. Places, payments, and then a single line underlined twice. "If anything happens, find Agent Harris." Clara leaned over my shoulder. "Who's Agent Harris?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But if your father trusted him, he's our only chance." Clara's lips quivered. "Mom, what if they find us before we find him?" I cupped her face in my hands. "Then we fight. We've already lost 35 years. We are not losing each other now." A sudden crunch of footsteps outside froze us both. Clara grabbed my arm, her eyes wide. I blew out the lantern, plunging us into darkness. The door creaked. A voice I didn't recognize whispered through the wood. "Eleanor Hayes, come out. We only need the girl." Clara clung to me, her heartbeat pounding against my chest. And for the first time in my life, I wished the gunshot we heard back in the shed had been meant for me instead of Robert. The voice outside grew sharper. "You have 1 minute before we come in." 1 minute. Clara shook in my arms. My mind raced. We had nothing but the envelope and the weight of secrets that could kill us. And then a flash of light cut through the trees. Headlights. A vehicle barreling down the muddy path. The men outside turned just as the truck skidded to a stop. A door slammed. Boots hit the mud. "Eleanor Hayes." A deep voice called. "Agent Harris. Stay inside." I yanked Clara back as gunfire erupted. The cabin shook with the sound of shouting and rain. Then silence. Minutes passed like hours until the door creaked open. A tall man in a soaked trench coat stepped inside, his badge glinting in the dim light. His face was hard, but his eyes were kind. "Mrs. Hayes," he said, scanning the room before his gaze landed on Clara. "And you must be the girl Robert's been protecting all these years." Clara clutched my hand. "Where's my dad? Did you see him?" Harris's jaw tightened. He's alive. But he's hurt. We have him secured in a safe location. Relief crashed over me so hard I nearly collapsed. Oh, thank God. Harris motioned to the envelope in my hands. That file is the key to everything. With it, we can take down the people who've been hunting your family for decades. I stared at him, my voice trembling. Then end it. Please. I want my family back. He nodded solemnly. We will. But you need to prepare yourself, Mrs. Hayes. There are truths in that file that will change everything you think you know about Robert, and about Clara. I looked at my daughter, her wide, tear-filled eyes staring back at me. My heart pounded in my chest as Harris spoke the words I'd feared since the moment they stepped on my porch. She's not just your daughter. She's the reason they'll never stop coming for you. Gent Harris guided us into the truck and sped through the winding roads, mud splashing against the tires. Clara sat beside me, pale and silent, gripping my hand like it was her lifeline. My heart thudded as Harris's words echoed in my head. She's the reason they'll never stop coming for you. I turned to him, my voice sharp despite the fear. What do you mean by that? She's my daughter. She hasn't done anything. Harris's eyes stayed on the road. It's not what she's done. It's who she is. Clara's lip trembled. I don't understand. Harris sighed. 35 years ago, Robert uncovered a network of illegal operations. Money laundering, trafficking, political corruption. He took evidence, but what he didn't know was that he also took something else. Something they wanted more than money. I tightened my grip on Clara's hand. What are you saying? Harris glanced in the rearview mirror. Clara, you weren't just born into hiding. You were born into the center of it. The man Robert witnessed being murdered wasn't just anyone. He was one of them. And his blood runs through you. Clara's head snapped toward him. What are you talking about? Harris's voice softened. Your biological father wasn't Robert. The world tilted. My stomach churned. No, that's impossible. Robert would never. Harris interrupted gently. Eleanor, Robert didn't know until it was too late. You were carrying Clara when he went on the run. He left to save you both. But the man who wanted you dead. He's her real father. Clara's face drained of color. Mom! Tears blurred my vision. No matter what blood runs through you, you are mine. Do you hear me? You are my daughter. Harris's voice hardened. And because of that blood, they will stop at nothing to erase her. The file you're holding isn't just evidence. It's her shield. It's the only thing keeping both of you alive. The truck skidded to a halt outside a dimly lit safe house. Harris turned to us, his eyes grim. You have a choice tonight, Eleanor. Keep running, or fight to end this forever. I clutched Clara to me, whispering in her hair. We fight. For our family. For the years they stole from us. But deep inside, fear whispered a darker question. What if the truth tears us apart before they do? The safe house smelled of steel and old smoke. Robert lay on a cot, pale and weak but alive. Clara broke free from my arms and ran to him, tears streaming down her face. Dad! She cried, collapsing beside him. His hand trembled as he cupped her cheek. Clara, my little girl. I stood frozen, the file still clutched to my chest, Harris's words clawing at my mind. She's not his. She's not his. Robert's eyes met mine, full of love and pain. Ellie, I never wanted you to find out like this. My voice cracked. It's true, isn't it? He nodded weakly. I didn't know at first. But when I found out, none of it mattered. She was ours. Always ours. Clara looked between us, panic in her eyes. What's going on? What are you talking about? I sank to my knees beside them, tears spilling freely. Clara, Harris told us. About your real father. Her hands shook. So all of this, all the running, it's because of me? Robert pulled her into his chest despite his pain. No, it's because of them. Because of the evil I tried to fight. You're not a curse, Clara. You are the only reason I survived 35 years of hell. The door creaked open and Harris stepped inside. His expression grave. We have to move. They found this location. I stood wiping my tears. Then we end this. Tonight. No more running. Harris glanced at the file in my hands. Are you ready to trade 35 years of silence for the truth? I looked at Clara and Robert, the broken pieces of my life suddenly whole again despite the cracks. I'm ready to trade everything to keep my family safe. The sound of engines roared in the distance. Harris loaded his weapon and turned to me. Then get ready, Eleanor. Because by sunrise, either they'll be gone, or we will. I held Clara's hand and whispered to myself, they've taken enough. Tonight we take it back. The night air was thick with tension as Harris handed me a small pistol. My hand shook as I gripped it. I had never held a weapon in my life, but tonight wasn't about fear. It was about survival. Robert struggled to sit up. His face pale but his eyes fierce. Ellie. No matter what happens, you protect Clara. Promise me. I swallowed hard and nodded. I promise. Clara clung to me, her face streaked with tears. Mom. I don't want to lose you too. I kissed her forehead. You won't. Not tonight. Not ever. Headlights cut through the trees outside the safe house. Dozens of them. Engines roared. Doors slammed. Harris crouched by the window. They came with everything they've got. They want the girl and they want the file. I tightened my grip on the envelope. Then we give them neither. The first shot shattered the window. We dropped to the floor as bullets ripped through the walls. Harris returned fire, his voice steady. Eleanor, get to the back exit. I'll cover you. I grabbed Clara's hand, pulling her toward the rear, but the door burst open before we reached it. A man stepped in, his gun trained on Clara. Hand her over, he growled. Something inside me snapped. 35 years of pain, loss, and fear erupted in one moment. I stepped in front of Clara, my voice cold as steel. You'll have to kill me first. He sneered. That can be arranged. Before he could pull the trigger, a single shot rang out. He dropped to the ground. Harris standing behind him with smoke rising from his weapon. Move! Harris barked. We scrambled out into the rain, running through the woods as gunfire echoed behind us. Robert's weak voice called out from the cot. Ellie! File. Don't let them win. We broke into a clearing where a helicopter waited, its blades cutting through the storm. Harris shoved us inside. As the chopper lifted, I clutched Clara and the envelope to my chest, watching the safe house grow smaller beneath us. Robert's face flashed in my mind, pale and broken. Did we leave him behind forever? Harris's voice broke through my thoughts. We have to go to the federal building. If we can deliver this file, it's over. I looked at Clara, her eyes wide and terrified. It's not over until we get your father back. And we will. But deep inside, I wasn't sure if we were running toward freedom or straight into another nightmare. We landed on the rooftop of a federal building just as the first light of dawn broke through the clouds. Harris grabbed the envelope and sprinted down the stairwell, barking orders into his radio. Clara and I followed, my heart pounding with every step. Inside, agents swarmed the room as Harris slammed the file onto a steel table. Open it. Now. Documents spilled across the surface. Photos. Bank records. Enough evidence to bring down every man who had hunted us for 35 years. Clara stood beside me, trembling. Mom, what happens now? I held her close. Now we end this. For good. A voice behind us made me freeze. You can't end what you don't understand. I spun around. The man who stepped into the room was older. His suit pristine, his smile chilling. Harris's hand went to his weapon. Stay where you are. The man's eyes landed on Clara. So, this is the child. My blood. My legacy. Clara gasped and stepped back. You. He took one slow step forward. Your father's been a thorn in my side for decades. But you. You are my greatest creation. I shoved Clara behind me, my voice shaking with rage. You are nothing to her. Do you hear me? She's mine. She will always be mine. The man's smile faded. Then you've chosen the wrong side. Before he could move, the room flooded with agents. Guns raised. Harris barked. It's over. The man's cold eyes met mine one last time. It's never over. They dragged him away in cuffs as Clara collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I held her tight, whispering over and over. It's over, baby. It's over. Harris approached, his expression softening. Robert's safe. He's on his way here. You did it, Eleanor. You saved your family. When Robert finally stepped through the door, weak but alive, Clara and I ran into his arms. 35 years of pain melted away in that moment. I looked at the sunrise through the window and felt tears stream down my cheeks. For the first time in decades, the weight was gone. But deep inside, one thought lingered. When a past this dark finally dies, what does the future look like? The federal building had grown quiet. The chaos of the morning had settled into a tense calm. Clara sat beside Robert, her head resting on his shoulder. I stood at the window, staring at the rising sun. Harris entered the room with a folder in hand. His expression was heavy. It's done. The entire network is being taken down. You're safe now. If the word felt strange after 35 years of running. What happens to us now? Yes. Harris hesitated. With the trial coming, you'll be protected. But Eleanor, his voice softened. Your lives won't go back to what they were. Too much has changed. Robert reached for my hand. His grip weak but steady. We have each other. That's enough. Clara looked at us, her eyes still red from tears. Mom, will people look at me different when they find out what I am? I knelt in front of her, cupping her face. You are my daughter. Nothing in this world will ever change that. Your blood doesn't define you. Your heart does. A sudden knock at the door made us all jump. Harris opened it, revealing a young agent carrying a sealed envelope. Ma'am, this was found in the safe house. Addressed to you. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was Robert's handwriting. Ellie, if you're reading this, it means I failed to keep us together. But know this. I have never loved anyone the way I love you. If I don't make it, protect Clara. She is more than the blood she carries. She is our second chance. Tears blurred my vision as I clutched the letter to my chest. Robert wrapped his arm around me. I wrote that before I knew I'd see you again. I meant every word. For the first time in decades, I let myself cry. Not out of fear but out of release. The nightmare was ending. But the weight of 35 years of secrets wouldn't disappear overnight. Harris cleared his throat gently. There's one more thing you need to know, Eleanor. The man we arrested. He wasn't the top. There's someone else. Someone higher. The room went cold. Higher, I whispered. Harris nodded grimly. He's coming for what's his. And he won't stop. I held Clara's hand, my voice steady despite the fear curling in my chest. Then neither will we. We were relocated to a quiet cabin under federal watch. For the first time in decades, there were no footsteps in the dark, no whispers of danger. Just the sound of wind through the trees. But peace is fragile. And it shattered the moment Harris arrived with news. He laid a single photograph on the table. A man in a tailored suit. His face calm but his eyes sharp as knives. This is the one who ordered it all, Harris said. The man above every crime, every cover-up, every death. He's been untouchable for 40 years. Robert studied the photo, his jaw tightening. I've seen him. Back then. I thought he was dead. Harris shook his head. He's alive. And now that his network is crumbling, he'll come for you himself. Clara's voice was a whisper. Why us? Harris's gaze shifted to her. Because you're living proof of everything he tried to bury. And because your father defied him. I stared at the man's face, a chill running down my spine. What's his name? Harris hesitated, then said softly, Jonathan Pierce. Robert's grip tightened on my hand. Ellie, he was at our wedding. The room went silent. My heart pounded. You're telling me the man who's hunted us for 35 years was standing beside us when we said, I do? Harris nodded. He's been watching you since before you knew you were in danger. And now, with everything exposed, he'll stop at nothing. I looked at Clara, her small hands clenched into fists. I'm not running anymore, I said quietly. He's taken too much from us. It ends with him. Robert met my gaze, his tired eyes burning with the same fire. Then we fight. As a family. Clara lifted her chin, tears glistening but her voice strong. We survived 35 years of fear. He's not taking our future. Harris gave a small nod. Then get ready. Because the next move belongs to him. Outside, the wind picked up, howling through the trees. And in that sound I swore I heard footsteps. Watching. Waiting. The cabin had become both sanctuary and prison. Each creak of the floorboards made my heart race. Robert tried to hide his worry, but I saw it in his eyes. Clara stayed close to me, never straying too far, as if afraid I would vanish again. Harris came in late that evening, his face tight. We intercepted a message. He knows where you are. He's coming tonight. The air went still. Robert's hand found mine, his grip firm. Then we're ready. But were we? After 35 years of running, what did ready even mean? We moved quickly, locking doors, checking the windows. Harris set up a defensive line, his gun loaded and steady. Clara clutched my arm, her voice trembling. Mom, what if we don't make it? I knelt in front of her, my hands cupping her face. We will. 'Cause we're together. That's our strength. The knock on the door came like thunder. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Harris signaled for silence. He moved to the door, weapon raised. But before he could open it, a voice slipped through the wood, smooth and cold. Eleanor. Robert. You've run long enough. Clara's breath hitched. It's him. Robert's voice was low and steady. Jonathan Pierce. What do you want? A soft chuckle came from the other side. What I've always wanted. The girl. The proof of what you stole from me. I stepped forward, my voice shaking but fierce. You'll never have her. She's not yours. The laugh that followed was chilling. Oh, Eleanor. Everything about her is mine. And tonight so are you. The door handle twisted slowly. Harris mouthed, get to the back. But before we could move, the front door swung open. Jonathan Pierce stepped inside, calm, unarmed, his presence filling the room like poison. His eyes locked on Clara, and he smiled. And in that moment, I knew this was the night everything would end, one way or another. The room seemed to shrink around us. Jonathan's steps were slow, deliberate, as if he owned every inch of the floor beneath him. Harris raised his gun, but Jonathan didn't flinch. Shoot me, he said smoothly, and you'll never uncover the rest. Do you really think this ends with me? Robert stood, weak but defiant. You took everything from us. 35 years of our lives. Tonight it ends. Jonathan's gaze shifted to him. You were a fool then. You're a fool now. That child you love so much. She's my legacy. My blood. I stepped in front of Clara, my voice trembling with rage. She's mine. She always has been. Blood doesn't make a family. Love does. And you will never understand that. Jonathan's smile faltered for the first time. You think love will save you. Before he could move closer, Harris spoke. It already did. We sent the file. Jonathan's eyes narrowed. You're lying. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Harris kept his weapon trained. Every name, every account, every crime. The whole country knows what you are now. Jonathan's calm mask cracked. He lunged toward Clara, but Robert stepped between them. You'll have to go through me. The door burst open. Federal agents swarmed the cabin, shouting commands. Jonathan froze as red laser dots lit his chest. Clara clung to me, sobbing as they dragged him away. His eyes met mine one last time, venom in his voice. "This isn't over, Eleanor." I held Clara tight, whispering, "Yes, it is. For us, it's finally over." When the cabin fell silent again, I looked at my family. Broken, scarred, but alive. Robert reached for my hand, his eyes glistening. "We can go home now." Clara smiled through her tears. "Where's home?" I kissed her forehead. "Wherever we are together." As we stepped out into the cool morning air, I felt the weight of 35 years lift. We weren't running anymore. We were living. For the first time in decades, the future wasn't a shadow. It was light. Speech Balloon, did this story move you? Comment your thoughts, hit like if you felt Eleanor's strength, and subscribe for more emotional stories of love, survival, and redemption.